I can know. It gives me a better idea. It gives me the idea exactly what I need to know about how much wood to take off so that it doesn't bend too much. What I want to do, really what my main goal is here is you see this bow right here is roughed out and it's got a back on it. So I roughed it out. It's roughed out now. It's getting to what we call tiller. It's not quite to tiller, but it's almost ready for tiller. Okay, so this is pre-tiller right now, and I've come from just the trunk of a tree. That's all this was, the side of a tree. And I chased the growth ring on the back, which with Osage you have to chase the growth ring. With white wood you don't. I'll get that. See this bow right here. This bow right here is white wood. And this, you can see the back here, the back of this bow. You don't have to chase the growth ring on white wood. You just leave the back, just pull the bark off, and smooth it down, get it nice and flat, get it as smooth as you can, take all the bumps out of it, but don't dig gouges into it or anything like it. Leave it as natural as possible. And this needs to be backed with something like rawhide, sinew. Oh gosh, you could back it with canvas if you wanted to. That would work, but I like the plant fiber stuff that I got on this bow right here. It comes from the trunk of a tree. It's actually bark of a tree. It's on the inside. You can see, see right here on the edge of this, that's white line right there. That's the plant fiber that I have as a back for this bow right here. And then on top of that back, I have a snakeskin back, which doesn't produce much integrity. So the reason you back a bow, though, the reason you back one is because you don't want it to bend and stay bent after you take the string off it, calling it a set. You don't want the bow to take a set. See how straight the limbs are? You want the limbs to always be straight like that, even after you've shot it a couple of hundred arrows. If it's got a set in it, the limb will stay bent like that, so that you're losing performance. Take the time to build a good bow. You're going to lose performance if you don't back it. So anyway, that's why you back it. But getting back to the white wood versus the Osage, you have to find the growth ring on this back right here before any of this is on here. This is just a raw wood like this. Then you get to that growth ring you want and you peel off everything else but that growth ring all the way down on both ends throughout the entire length of the bow. One growth ring, and you can't have any violations in that ring. In other words, big gouges or divots where your draw knife has cut deeper into it. Because what happens is when you bend the bow, if it's cut, when you bend it like that, right there in that bend, if it's got a cut or a divot or something like that in there, that spot right there will have a lot of pressure on it. It'll lift up. The fibers will actually part and lift up and just like crack. Well, and then the bow's done. It's ruined. You'll never shoot a bow. It won't ever be any good. You can't fix that. You can't glue it or any of that shit. That doesn't work. So it's real easy to ruin one of these. It's very hard to get one right. But right now, I'm working on, and I use the whitewood to show you that you don't have to chase a growth ring on the whitewood. This is a Mere Heath bow. I took it out of the jig. You saw I had it in a jig, had a reflex, got a nice reflex to it. But still, if you don't back this bow, after you string it, you shoot it for a couple hundred shots, it's gonna take a set. In other words, it's gonna be going, the tip is gonna be down following the string. Call it string follow, where the tip follows the string down this way, see, even when it's not strung, which means your bow, that bow is lacking in its total ability or performance to be a good bow. So in order to give this bow justice, you gotta back it. Once you back it, then you got a bow that'll last for a lifetime and it won't take a set if you do it right. Anyway, get back to this one. All I'm doing now is I'm pre-tiller. I'm just getting it to where I can bend it. I'm getting to where I can, put a bend on it, and then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go through the whole process with you. So I'm gonna take you through the whole thing, making the string and everything. decided, you know, I want to change gears because what I've done is I've gotten this bow to where you can go ahead and start the early stage of tillering on a tillered stick. I'm gonna go through the whole thing. It's, from making the string. You got to have a string to tiller the bow. If you don't, unless you're tillering, of course, you know, some people floor tiller, and that's what I do. I floor tiller until I get to the point where floor tillering is not precise enough. Then you got to go to the wall and do a string tiller, and that's a little bit more involved, and it takes more time. And the most important part of that, of course, is that you got to build a string for your bow. So that's what I'm going to do right now, but I want to talk to you before I start building the string. I want you to understand something. When I've talked all about, you know, doing everything from the handmade, from the primitive, you know, make it myself, and that's the criteria I use to go out and hunt and capture, take things. And that includes traps and snares, which I'm big on. I mean, I love them. I love snaring stuff. I like trapping. It's a great science, you know, and it's a way of hunting, but it's different. I like the chase too. The chase to me is the more exciting part. And when you're using primitive weapons, you're really chasing the animal, and you're wearing him down with numbers. You've got a weapon, and you're with a team or a tribe, a group of guys, all focus on the same thing, whether it's a rabbit or a squirrel, you know, flushing him out. He went into this area, we just stay right here. When he comes out, somebody shoots him with a slingshot, or if you don't, you see where he goes into a hole, and then you dig him out, you get the dogs, and whatever it takes, you know, you got the squirrel, you know, he runs and runs through the top of the trees, and he hides, and you shoot a few times to get him dislodged out of there, and then he runs some more, and he hides into another spot. And man, it's a team effort, but it's all done with primitive weapons, and it's it's so exciting. But what I wanted to talk to you about is how I was talking about. I don't take it in the field with me if I don't make it myself, which is true. I do have to build all my stuff. I don't buy products to put into my slingshots and stuff. I trade everything. I do a trade on everything I get. Just the same way the North American Indians traded. I will build a couple of bows and I'll trade it to somebody for more staves, so I can, you know, or in my case, most of the time I just cut my own staves, you know, for my bows. But the string, here's the thing. The string is not the bows that we're making today, and that's including this bow that you're looking at that I'm holding up. This bow right here, there isn't a natural fiber string. Well, maybe if you had flax, you could do it with flax, and there is some natural fiber out there that's strong enough to handle the weight and poundage of this bow, but not around here. So honestly, it is, because the bow is so strong and so powerful. The North American Indians were using bows of this design, but they weren't using them this weight. They didn't have the strings that would hold up to a bow like this. The string would only be good for 2 or 3 shots, and they'd have to have another string. So they couldn't shoot, their bows had to be much lighter in poundage, so that the strings that they made for them would last, because all they had was, you know, the hide from the buffalo, or the gut from the buffalo, or the tendon or a sinew from the buffalo, which stretches real bad. I mean, that stuff stretches. You can make a string from it, but oh man, it's just so inferior. I mean, it can't hold up to this bow. But now you can make a bow, a real lightweight bow, and put a buffalo hide string, you know, natural fiber string on the bow, and it'll work fine. But the bow's only pulling 35 to 40 pounds, you know. So whereas this bow right here, it's going to be pulling 60 pounds or even maybe more. You know, at full draw, you might be above 60 pounds on this bow, which that's a lot of weight, you know, for a natural bow. Anyway, so that's why I'm talking to you about the string. that's my string, or that and this. I make two types so I can see it. There's a certain technique to building it, and I'm going to build it in front of you. It's going to be hard to explain as I go, but I'm just going to build it. I don't talk much when I'm working, but trying you can see as much as possible, I hope. But you know, it's the same as cordage. I've had some other cordage videos. When you're making cordage, it's the same concept. Just making string out of this right here. This is Dynaflight. This is what this is Dynaflight right here, and this is same Dynaflight also. Both of these are Dynaflight. So I'm going to mix the two, and I've cut about 8 strands of white, 8 strands of black, and then I'll combine them together and they'll twist. They'll look like a barber pole, and I'll make loops on each end, and I'm going to go through the whole process. So y'all stay tuned. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm making a string from Dynaflight. This stuff is called Dynaflight. It's actually a Dacron, which is synthetic fiber. It's Dacron. It's the same thing that, you know, even the compound shooters are using. Same string. But I'm making it by hand. Instead of having a machine do it, I'm doing it myself. And it's slow. I'm not going to film the whole thing. It's just be too tedious, but it's a very slow process. It takes time to build a string for a bow. If you know what you're doing, it takes time. Anyway, I'm just here doing it. Counting out my strands. I'm going to have 7 and 7. 7 strands of white. You can see the white. There's 7 right there. It's all. I've got the beeswax on it now. I've got the beeswax on it now, so you can see there's 7 strands of the white, and then there'll be 7 strands of the black, and then I'll combine them together just like I would cordage, like making cordage, you know, for a project in the field. You know, like the snare or cordage for wrapping a spear or tying up your backpack or something like that. Or just anything. I mean, cordage is, you know. Cordage in the field can never be understated. If it is, then you're wrong. If you devalue, not devaluate, but if you devalue, if you put no value on knowing how to work with plant fiber, you're not a whole wilderness or outdoors person. You're not a whole. You're fractured. You're only part of what you could be. Plant fiber played a huge role in the everyday life of all, and I mean all, North American Indians. Plant fiber was a big, big part. You can see it's very painstaking, slow. Be careful how you do it. So I'm just gonna keep going here. I got 7 strands to make, so I'm gonna just like edit it out. Because it would be stupid for you to sit here and watch the whole thing. See it once you understand it. The key here for me right now is just getting the length right. You want every strand to be the same length, because it makes it easier for you when you go to actually, you know, making the string, to actually twisting it together and making it a bona fide bowstring rather than just a bunch of fiber all stuck together. Anyway, so Thanks for watching. And just stay tuned. I'll see you in a little bit.